Hello and welcome to Really Awesome Treasures eBay YouTube video. Today for your consideration we have this GWInstek GRG-450B as in Bravo, and this is a 100 kilohertz to 160 megahertz RF signal generator, and that's 160 megahertz on the fundamental. On harmonics it will go to 450 megahertz. If you don't know how to use and work harmonics, there's a lot of tutorials online that will tell you all about it, how to calculate and use harmonics. I've had this device on my workbench for approximately 3 to 4 years, and I've used it exclusively for that duration. It has been a fantastic RF signal generator, but I have since upgraded and I no longer need this, and I'm going to pass it on to hopefully somebody who can use it. The device is in overall pretty good condition. Definitely not a beater. The only issue with this is right here on the corner we have a little crack. And I don't think that it was, I don't think the device was dropped. That's how it came to me when I bought it. I think maybe the plastic might have just gave way or something. I'm really not sure, but there's no damage here that shows that it looks like it might have been dropped. There's no scarring or nicks or anything like that. It's in really good condition. The only work I've done to this, I went ahead and tore it apart and I cleaned the contacts of all the buttons, knobs, switches, and everything like that. And I used proper Craig cleaners, contact cleaners and oils. So we're good there, no WD-40 on it. Everything works as should. There's no issues really to note. Well, I say that because there is one, and I'll show that to you on the O-scope. We will test this and try it out. Now, even though it has one issue, it really is nothing major. We have our power on-off. We have a 1000 kilohertz tone, internal or external. If you put it on the external, then what happens is from another audio frequency source you can import another frequency. So if you needed 400 megahertz, you could put it in there. If you wanted to sample music over your radio that you're working on, well, you could port it in through there, and this will be a low RF broadcaster. Probably not going to go any further than your office, and that's about it. But it will allow you to do those kind of neat and groovy things. We do have a AF control here. It controls for your audio output. We have our RF level. Now this is a two-stage control. You rotate it as you normally would a pot, but you have a high and low. So right now I just pulled it out and we are in low position, and there you are in high. Here we have a RF output, and we have a frequency counter output. Up here we have our band selectors, A through F. When you go to F, which is your high band, this is where you will get your 450 megahertz harmonics. Pointer control spins freely, comfortably, no issues noted. Power button works just fine. No issues. I went through, and even though these really weren't all that dirty, I went ahead and gave them a courtesy clean, knocked off whatever dust and light debris might have been on there, clean that up. This control turns comfortably. No issues noted. Handle works just fine, no rips, no tears. It's nice and clean. On the back, we have your typical 3-prong computer style plug. And since we're talking about that, there will be no AC mains cable that comes with this. You will have to supply your own AC mains cable. They're very common, they're everywhere, and you probably already have a dozen anyway. And as you see, all feet are intact and they're in fabulous, fantastic condition. Same with the stickers, fabulous, fantastic condition. If I remember correctly, even though it's wired right now, hardwired for 120 volts, internally you can change it where it will work on 220 volts. So it's really easy. Now you've probably seen a dozen and two of these. One manufacturer made them and relabeled them everything. Once you open this up, you go to the power supply board, you're going to see imprinted on the power supply board Syncor. That's right, these were relabeled under Syncor. I could not find an exact schematic for this device, but just about any one that you grab, it will work for this. As far as internal calibrations are concerned, there's really nothing that you, the tech, can do. On the back side of this control, there are coils. Per the service manual, if you heat up the wax and adjust those coils, that will get you on frequency. But honestly, even though it's not 100% on frequency, it's really doggone close. And if you use a frequency counter, then you really don't need to know, have this exact. This at that point in time is just going to be a reference point for your eyeballs. Your frequency counter is what's going to tell you where you are. Let's go ahead and get this plugged into power and we will test this out. Alright, I've killed one of my overhead power lights so we could see everything properly here. And we're going to hook the RF out to the scope, and then we're going to hook the frequency counter up to the frequency counter. Now this frequency counter I'm using is not lab grade frequency counter. However, I did calibrate it about 2 weeks ago at the time of shooting this video, and it is really accurate. It reads really close with my leader and my Syncor frequency counter, so I'm very comfortable at what the frequency counter tells you is pretty much where you're going to be at on this device. Now your frequency counter may differ, depends on how old it is and when the last time it was calibrated and how much it's been beat up, etc., etc. However, your frequency counter should also get you in pretty doggone close to where you're at if it's lived a good life and hasn't been beat up. Let's go ahead and turn this to the bottom of the band. Turn the signal down. Let's go ahead and turn this on. Now you see up here we're at 100,000. Let me adjust this. Okay, it took me a moment to get the scope calibrated and dialed in. The O-scope we are using is a Tektronix 100 meg scope, so I will have some limitations on the high band with this and that demoing the high band. We'll go ahead and turn up the RF. And as you see here, we have a really nice sine wave signal. By manipulating your RF adjustment, it does not affect the frequency counter. And you see there we have a really good strong signal. That's the RF all the way up. Let's go ahead and put this switch on low. And as you saw, it went away. So as you see, really nice smooth action. Now the one issue I was talking about that this does have, and it's not on all bands, I'm not sure why, what's happening, but even though we have nice smooth action here, in some section of the bands, when you hit the low frequency, it doesn't exactly flatten out. It'll flatten out and then it'll rise back up again. So there's a little lull in the control on a couple of spots in the band. I never really noticed that per se. So, and like I said, I've had this for several years. So either I wasn't paying attention to it, or it just never affected me enough to notate that. I cannot speak to all of them if that is how it is for them, or if this is something unique to this device. Let's go ahead and sweep. Real quick, let's turn the audio on. Oops. And as you see there, the audio does affect the carrier. And we'll go ahead and sweep. Keep in mind, this is my lines are not terminated, and you have a really nice signal. The thing that I primarily used this device for was working on broadcast AM radios, FM radios. And this thing is pretty stable, pretty accurate. I'm going to dial in 455 kilohertz. And so it's just that easy. Let's go ahead and change the resolution on this. So even though there's no fine tune on this, as you see, it's fairly simple to dial it in. Honestly, if I'm working on a radio, I'm not worrying about that digit being off. In fact, I'm okay even if the 455 is, 454, 456. I'm not doing lab grade repair work, and all the junk I work on is my own. So I'm okay with it. But as you see right there, we have a really nice stable sine wave, and we have a really nice stable frequency. And this is solid state, by the way. It is not tube type. It is solid state. So let's go ahead and move forward. So as you see here, we are at 3 megahertz. And as you see, the RF carrier is shrinking like it should. And as you see, you got plenty of gain on the control. So for FM, IF, it's 10.7, and you just dial in a 10.7. And there you go. There we are at 65 megahertz. And like I said, my scope is only 100 megahertz, so we're limitations happening. You're not going to see the wave too well. So we're at 151.953 megahertz. Oh, there we go. How about that? It's able to get a signal on that. That's cool. Guess I should have played around with that before. And going down in signal, you see that it does rise. One last thing to show, the audio out. Now it's supposed to be a 1 kilohertz signal. It's just shy of 1 kilohertz, but it's good enough to get the job done. Let's go ahead and plug that into the frequency counter, and if we adjust that, you see it does wiggle a little bit. Let's go ahead and plug that in to the frequency counter. And we're getting 1060 kilohertz on that. And I think the way how to adjust that is you'll need to get in there and monkey around with some passive components. Honestly, 1060 is just fine. It'll get the job done for most everything. And as stated, it does have an input here as well. So if you needed to dial it in other ways, definitely do that. Anyway, that'll end this video. Thank you for watching. I do want to declare that the only thing that's involved, that's included in this auction, is just this device only. There are no cables, no none of those, no equipment behind, no AC cable. There's absolutely, positively no warranty, guarantee, implied or expressed. And this is a no remorse auction, so if you buy it and you second guess yourself, you own the device. The device will be shipped out through a carrier that's cheapest for me. This is going to be free shipping for you. For me, I'll pick the cheapest, and there will be signature required on this device to ensure that you get the device and not your local porch pirates. If you have any questions, please ask them before auction end, and I will answer them the best I can. Please keep in mind, I am not a professional electronics technician. I am just a hobbyist, and I will do the best I can to answer all of your questions. Thank you very much for watching. Good luck, and if you do win, if you do purchase, I hope you enjoy.